What if Michael, Franklin, and Trevor went back to 1899? Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto do not exist in the same universe. But for the sake of this story, let's say they coexist in one universe. And the book Red Dead by J. Marston is a real biography of the Van der Linde gang. Now, this story could have two versions. In one version, Franklin didn't read the book and does not know anything about the Van der Linde gang. In the other version, he read the book and tries to change the fate of the Van der Linde gang. Anyways, let's start the story. The story takes place right after the events of Grand Theft Auto, and as we know, Ending C, Death Wish, is the canon ending, so everybody survives. One day, Michael was just hanging out when he saw a mysterious man. That mysterious man greeted him and said his name was Francis Sinclair. Michael noticed something weird about this guy. He seemed old, but he was younger than Michael himself. Michael noticed this man was wearing clothes from the 1930s, and his mannerisms all seemed strange. Francis asked Michael to do him a favor. He asked Michael to find some hidden markings across Los Santos and Mount Chiliad. Then the guy left. Michael found those weird-looking markings, which were quite strange. Some markings had old symbols, while some had UFOs and other strange things. After finding them, he gave their pictures to Francis Sinclair. After that, Francis was never seen again. Michael, curious, sent these pictures to Lester, and Lester sent Michael a location of an old cabin that was at least a century old but was still well maintained. Michael called Franklin and Trevor to see this mysterious cabin. Then they entered the cabin. After that, the cabin started shaking, and when they came out of the cabin, they were someplace else entirely. They went outside to see what was going on and were shocked to see people using horses and wagons. They went to the nearest town, Strawberry, and everyone was staring at them like they had seen strange creatures. To avoid this, they bought clothes that would fit in that timeline. Well, robbed the clothes. Michael read a newspaper, and it was 1899. His theory was right. Trevor was also shocked. For the first time, he was baffled. Franklin, too. They went back to the cabin to go home, but they couldn't. When they reached there, they saw a lady with a baby. The lady greeted them, and Michael asked where Francis Sinclair was. Then the lady pointed her finger at the baby. All of them were shocked. Then Arthur came in. He also asked where Mr. Sinclair was, as he had gotten those markings too. She said her husband died, and this baby was Francis Sinclair. All of them got out of the cabin. Michael asked Arthur about Francis, and knew that it was the same guy. Arthur couldn't understand what just happened, but Michael understood. He told everyone that Francis was a time traveler, and that this baby was Francis Sinclair too. All of them were shocked. Michael told Arthur that they were from the future, 2013, and that they got here because of this Sinclair guy. Arthur was shocked, and he couldn't believe it, but when they showed him their phone, he believed. He saw the phone, and it was otherworldly. Michael asked Arthur to help them get back to their home, and Arthur agreed. They searched for Francis all day, hoping they could find him, but they got nothing. Michael was frustrated. If he didn't find Francis, they'd be stuck there forever. Some bounty hunters hunted down Arthur, but Michael, Trevor, and Franklin took care of them with precision. Arthur, seeing their skills, offered them a deal. They would help the Van der Linde gang, and the Van der Linde gang would help them get back home. With no hope left, they accepted the deal. Arthur then took them to Horseshoe Overlook. He introduced them to the gang members and told them these people came from the future. At first, no one believed them, but after some time, they all did. Dutch agreed with Arthur, and Michael, Trevor, and Franklin joined the gang. They needed some time to get adjusted to this life. Chapter 2 went on the same, but with Michael, Franklin, and Trevor being around. Every day they searched for Francis Sinclair, but to no avail. After some time, they started to think they were trapped there forever. Still, they began to blend in with the gang, and after some time, they were a part of it. Trevor was still mad at Michael as he got them into this mess, but after some time, he too blended in. The following chapters went on exactly the same, but they were less catastrophic. Chapter 4 started, and after dealing with Bronte, Dutch made a new plan. They would get money first, and then they would help Michael, Franklin, and Trevor. But if they couldn't find Francis for a long time, they would stop looking. If this happened, there would be no way out, and Michael, Trevor, and Franklin would just be history. The gang attempted the St. Denis bank robbery, which went horribly wrong. Hosea got shot, but as Michael, Trevor, and Franklin were around, they saved John from getting captured, and they also saved Lenny from getting killed. The gang was hiding out someplace away from the law, but they needed to do something quick before the law found them. Dutch made his plan. They would escape and go to someplace else. Michael disagreed, saying that if they went to an island, they could never go home. Then Dutch made a new plan. They would escape from here somehow. After a while, Dutch opened the door and they all ran silently. Pinkertons were heavily patrolling, but they got out with the money safely. They gathered in Shady Belle and Dutch buried Hosea. After some days, Pinkertons ambushed the gang at Shady Belle. But with Michael, Trevor, and Franklin, the gang easily defeated the Pinkertons, and they moved to another camp, Beaver Hollow. Arthur found out he had TB, but it wasn't as bad as in the original timeline. Arthur's TB was worsened because of Guarma, but as Arthur didn't end up in Guarma in this timeline, he had a little time left and some energy left. Milton offered Micah a deal to be the rat, and Micah accepted it. Micah tried to manipulate Dutch and break the gang. The gang had enough money, but Micah pushed Dutch for more money. Dutch, being greedy, did exactly that. He did more heists. Now even Trevor was fed up with Dutch and Micah's little act, and he called it out. He called Micah a fat ass and said he couldn't get anything done. Micah also fought Trevor, but in the end, Trevor just killed Micah in the camp in front of Dutch. Dutch broke down after this and just left without anything. The gang broke apart and everyone went their separate ways. Arthur, Sadie, John, and his family helped Michael, Franklin, and Trevor find Francis. For 2 years, they couldn't find him, and they completely lost hope. Arthur was taking it easy, as he had TB. One day, while Michael was working on the ranch, he saw Francis waving to him. He ran there and met him. Francis asked him how he was here, and Michael told him they got there by entering a cabin. Francis knew it was his time machine. Michael, Trevor, and Franklin bid their farewell, and they went back in time. But Michael came back, and he gave Arthur a TB cure before going back again. Arthur took the cure as prescribed by Michael and got healthy again, and they lived happily after. As Micah was already dead, it was unlikely for Edgar Ross to find John, but let's say he does. Then Red Dead Redemption 1 would happen exactly the same, but with Arthur, Sadie, and Charles alongside John. Meanwhile, in 2013, Franklin read the book Red Dead by Jay Marston, and he saw their names in the story too. Jack described them as time travelers who helped them. Anyways, if you like this what if, consider subscribing and drop down in the comments what if y'all want next. The next part will be, what if Franklin already read the book and knew the story, and he tries to change the fate of the Von der Linde gang?